What are you up to in Game of Thrones?
Halfway through season 4, he is.
It's Michael Tidwell, Chris Cleeshult, and Michael B. Casey.
Block time.
It's block time. This is Michael Tidwell.
This is Michael B. Casey.
And this is Chris Cleeshult.
And we just got done with an interview with Carol Van Cleef. What'd y'all think?
I don't know. Chris survived.
Depressing, but she's a delightful person, but she didn't have good information.
Well, it was probably accurate information.
Oh, of
It's
course,
just not
yeah.
good information.
Just to
clarify.
Just to give a background to whoever's listening, we interviewed Carol Van Cleef, who's an attorney from Washington D.C., who's probably one of the only experts in this space as far as cryptocurrency is concerned. There's probably only realistically a handful of these people.
Yeah, I know. Jason Siebert's criminal defense for stuff, right?
Well, I mean, just to have someone who really knows what they're talking about and also be an attorney, I mean...
Yeah, I was pretty impressed.
I feel like she's
been in the game a while.
And I like how and I love how she says, "Oh yeah, I've been in the digital currency before Bitcoin." I was like, "No, you haven't." And then she's like, "E-gold." I'm like, "Oh
yeah, I guess you're right."
That's what I'm saying. It's a depressing, journey through all this whole thing. It's not good news. Would you say?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's to me, it's always the same thing. This is the first time where we can have like so much deniability of what we have and who we transact with if you know what you're doing.
The potential for government overreach and overreaction to this stuff is enormous, though. I would not underestimate it. But, I mean, I don't want to dwell on this topic because hopefully we'll publish the entire interview, and so y'all can watch that. But little self-plug there.
So, let's see. This is the first time we've ever done a podcast back-to-back weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So, this might be the first time where we don't have a ton of stuff to talk about. We'll probably have a shorter podcast show this time around. But
unless we get going. But yeah.
I hope not. I have stuff to do tonight. Yeah, we'll see. But I think main topics, probably Segwit2x versus UAS-HF, UAHF.
Yeah, so now there's a third component in the little game theoretic construct that is the block size debate. So this is the Jihan Woo's Bitmain. They released a what do they call it? Their contingency plan. They released a contingency plan that would announce a hard fork, or they would actually. Let me see if I get the whole thing straight. So they're gonna create a hard fork and secretly mine it themselves for a period of 3 days. So it's supposed to start 12 hours after UASF occurs, provided UASF does not fizzle out and die completely due to lack of hash rate. So if UASF actually stays alive as a contingency, they will start mining their own chain as a hard fork directly to, what was that, 8 megabyte? So they'll do an 8 megabyte hard fork.
Can you go back to that tweet?
Oh. What's the tweet? Bitmain, learn more about UAHF, our contingency plan for UASF risks to Bitcoin, Segwit2x, and more.
Yeah, we can talk about what Jihan Woo is sort of saying behind what he's saying there in the tweet. I'm interested to see what Mike B. Casey thinks about that one. I usually call you Mike Tidwell. I usually call you Tidwell, and I call Mike.
That's usually what we go by.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. No problem.
Yeah, I have to go by the B in my official because there's a lot of Michael Casey. There's a much more famous one in the space, as a matter of fact.
There's like a financial journalist,
former Wall Street Journal reporter. Actually, yeah.
So, you can't even pick a subject and be the most popular with a name like Michael B. Casey.
I was actually,
or with a name like Michael Casey.
Yeah, I was actually really pissed when he came on the scene because I was here first.
right? And then people were giving him accolades for stuff that you wrote.
No.
No, they were.
Well,
they totally were.
But I mean,
They're like, I loved your article on Bitcoin adoption.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't
Price theory.
Yeah, they're like giving him like kudos. They're like, that was an awesome article, and you're like, he's like, what? That wrong, Michael Casey.
He was very flattering about it. He's a super nice guy. I've been talking to him. Very, very nice guy. Very intelligent. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into this Bitmain stuff because I think our podcast is probably the only one that I know of that is actually not completely in the bag for UASF.
A lot of the core people are all about the camo hats.
Right. I mean, you look at World Crypto Network; those guys are 100% in the bag. Meister, and a lot of the other people that aren't in the bag, they just don't know what the bag is, right? So,
if you don't know what the bag is, you're in the bag.
Yeah, because
if you don't know who the sucker at the table is, you're the sucker.
Exactly. No, I'm saying that a lot of people, they gloss over that because they don't have time to look into all the, intricacies of what BIP148 is and what Segwit2x is and all that stuff. So I don't blame them. I'm just saying that they just go with what they see in the media, and most of it is based on, the stuff from core. So
before we get into the core subject of this show, which is Segwit and UAHF and all that stuff, you want to cover everything else first?
Yeah,
what
let's
else
do
do
it.
we have?
So I was having a conversation with this guy, the guy who runs the Autica Exotica website. I think he's like their engineer. Raw old dirty. Yeah. And he's one of the smarter guys I know in the dojo. A lot of trolls in there, right? But one thing that was interesting that he brought up, because I was asking him like, hey, what do you think about something came up with AsciBoost, and we're talking about it. I didn't really get a clear answer from him on whether or not he thought there was some kind of conspiracy on AsciBoost or whatever, but essentially, what I didn't know, what he was telling me was, and you can verify this, but I mean, I think what he said was right. You can exhaust the entire nonce space, and you might have said this before, and not actually find a valid resultant hash with the Merkle tree you decided on. And the fact that you would actually have to flip other things in the header, like possibly version or possibly other things in the header to find a suitable resulting hash. Do you know about that?
Yeah, you can roll over the nonce, and you can increment other things, and that happens quite frequently.
I didn't. You know what? I was probably told that a couple times, and I completely did not know that. Like I forgot. That came to a surprise to me. I was like, yeah, I guess it. You only get 32 bits or. It's 4 bytes?
Yeah, 4 bytes.
So you only really get 4 bytes of space to play with. So the whole thing, because I was asking questions about AsicBoost, and he was like, well, you really have to break it down. And he was trying to like teach me, and he has like a really interesting way, because I was trying to get his opinion about something, and in the process of getting his opinion, I think he was trying to make me know like how absurd my question was. In the process, he like was trying to go through the steps of like teaching me like up to the point of like why my question is kind of stupid or something, but I never got to that point. I just started learning like all this stuff, like prereq stuff.
So how many levers do you have to pull?
You have version.
Yeah, version.
You have the nonce space.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just look at the block header stuff on the Bitcoin wiki.
Are the BIP9 flags? Would those make an impact?
Well, you can't. Yeah, it's a little bit. We can talk. Is this in the context of AsicBoost? Like what's
yes.
really what?
Yes, the context was, how does AsicBoost work essentially, okay. And how he was saying that it doesn't make any sense, and how Greg Maxwell's thing of AsicBoost was kind of not true or something.
No, it's true. It's 100%.
Or maybe like his first go around was like nullified, is what he said.
I don't know what his first go around was.
So you have
two types of AsicBoost.
you can't mess with previous block.
No.
You can't mess with.
So you got the Merkle.
Well, I guess that you can mess with everything else.
You can't really mess with version.
You can. You'll just be really confusing, right?
No.
I mean, there's obviously some bits that aren't being used right now.
Yeah.
You can mess with those.
Yeah.
There's 4 bits.
So
No, there's
4 bytes.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was about to say there's 32 bits.
So, yeah.
So the reason you can get away with ASIC boost is because you're building you're basically hashing a Merkle tree, right? A hash of a Merkle tree, right? So you have a tree has 2 sides of it, right?
Yeah.
At least a Merkle tree does. You got left side, right side, right? And so the theory is if one side of that tree doesn't change, or if it's known or otherwise,
you don't have to recalculate it if you want to roll the left side of the Merkle tree, for instance. If you just want to roll all like the bottommost left up to the top, or not. I guess you wouldn't want to roll the leftmost. You just want to roll like the exact left.
The name of the game is how much pre-computation can you do on any particular block, and if you can do that, then you should, right? Because you can get a leg up.
But is that called ASIC boost? The fact that how is that ASIC boost? Like I always thought
optimization.
But I always thought ASIC boost was like this clever, like mysterious.
No, we knew about ASIC boost from as far back as I can remember.
But why was this breaking news?
No, because there's 2 types. So the one that we've known about for forever was overt ASIC boost, to where it's obvious that you've been doing that by the block that you published. And then there's another one that Greg Maxwell purportedly discovered called covert ASIC boost.
Maybe let's go over that.
Well, see, that's the thing is, the argument that Maxwell laid out was pretty convincing to me. At least on a circumstantial level. It's purely circumstantial. I don't think he reverse engineered the hardware and got a mass spectrometer. And
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't think he definitively proved it, but it's a good circumstantial case. I read it and I was like, wow, yeah, they're probably up to that.
Yeah, you would have to. I think you meant electron microscope.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, no.
Mass spectrometer would be like, what's in your blood or what's in your genes and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, the only way you really know for sure if Jihan and his compatriots were doing that is if you went and you busted in their door on their fab and you took one of their chips and you held them all at gunpoint and you inspected their chips and you said, look, right here, you can see the pathways.
But it doesn't matter because there's plus sides and downsides to that, and they found that it's optimal financially to pre-compute the Merkle tree and not go for the transactions that just came in with the highest transaction fees. Then this
is always got because these are the same people who are against ASIC boost. I mean, part of the reason is because it's patented.
Don't forget though, covert ASIC boost.
Well,
That's different than what I was just describing,
it's true.
right?
Covert ASIC boost, it doesn't actually fall under the patent. No, it works similarly. I mean, it's the same fundamental exploit you're running. But I mean, here's the thing. But
it's coverted by the patent?
No. I mean, it's impossible to tell that they were doing it.
It's impossible to tell they're doing it non-covert ASIC boost. How would you tell normal ASIC boost?
It would be a signature. It would be circumstantial evidence, which we do have.
But it shows up,
but circumstantial is not proof.
Overt shows up in the blockchain. You can see. It's reordering transactions is what overt does.
Right. And
so
we have evidence
non-logical,
We have evidence of that.
Can you explain what that means, reordering transactions, and it being very obvious that they did that?
So I'm trying to remember because I read Greg's thing.
And we're talking about reordering in the Merkle tree?
Half ago.
Yeah, so the get block template in Bitcoin D will essentially give you a block that you should be that is a candidate block that is the most profitable way for you to be mining, right? And so if you see something come in that's like, oh, that's not the candidate block at that particular time when that block was produced, you're like, something's fishy there.
It's
right?
overt. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't know.
So covert
I don't remember because I think Greg was saying that part of the covert, the covert ASIC boost does produce circumstantial evidence in like empty blocks, which has been happening. So like Antminer.
But you would admit that it's all circumstantial.
It's purely circumstantial. Right. But it stands to reason because they've mined empty blocks, like 4 minutes after the last block was found. There is no excuse for that. That's plenty of time to validate whatever previous block there was, right? So if it's 4 minutes afterward and you mine an empty block, there's a reason why you mine that empty block, especially when you have mempools as high as it is, because transaction fees are no longer non-substantial. Right. So the fact that those were showing up, so partially filled blocks and empty blocks, but why after validation is ludicrous.
But how? What's the advantage of mining an empty block ahead of time? You wouldn't know what the previous block hash is.
So yeah, that's it. You don't. If you don't include any transactions, you can't fuck up your block. So if you're mining but you haven't verified the previous block, so you don't know for a fact what transactions are in it, but you want to mine on its header anyway, if you come up with a block and that block turns out to be correct, there is no chance of you creating an invalid block if you don't include any transactions.
Right.
But if you get another one, then
why don't we see, if this is such an efficiency, why don't we see every other block being empty?
No. I mean, it only works when with an empty block you find a result quicker. I mean, and that
but if you're processing an empty block, are you saying half of my resources are processing an empty block, half of my resources in my pool are mining a non-empty block?
You're asking two different questions. One is, why do you see empty blocks at all? So
I'm not asking that.
Well,
I'm asking
that
why.
was the one I answered. I'm just telling you. The one I just answered was that one. So that's completely different than seeing the empty blocks like 4 minutes after.
In the case of AsciBoost, whether it's covert or overt, if you did half the work previous to you even knowing what the previous hash was, and then you get the previous hash and you only have to do 50% of the work to get to the block, you can't. There's no way for you to include any transactions. You already did 50% of that work. You can't possibly know what the future is. You don't have a time machine, right? So, that's the answer. Is they there's circumstantial evidence that they are using AsicBoost because of all these signatures that come through, the empty blocks, the blocks that have transactions out of order, this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
that's another thing. Having transactions out of order, that looks really weird.
Explain that, transactions out of order.
Well, it's so there are certain circumstances why you would want to prefer certain transactions that aren't necessarily optimal fee. Like
when we say transactions, hold on. When we say transactions out of order, we say ranking by highest fee per byte to lowest.
Rational miner behavior is doing that, ranking from highest to lowest and taking that, right? Whatever you have available in the mempool, and when you see, clearly out of order transactions where they're throwing in transactions and they're changing the order of it, because if you change the order of the transactions, it affects the Merkle tree, which would affect your hash, the output hash of it. So I suppose that could be another way of incrementing the nonce. But again, there's no reason to do this because your odds normally of doing this are the same as incrementing the nonce, because under normal conditions, unless you're using a cheat like AsicBoost.
It's not a cheat, though.
Well, yeah,
I was going to say, to me, it's not a cheat.
Let's say an optimization.
To me, it's not even an optimization. It's an option.
Well, it is.
It's an option that could be less profitable or more profitable based on statistics.
No. The more profitable is because you get it faster. Because
then it's more profitable based on statistics.
It's an optimization. Yeah. That's what makes it an optimization. But so this is what gets me about it. The same crowd that screamed up and down about the change of the DAO and how the DAO hacker should get the money because code is law.
Well, first off, those were
do not mess with it. Right. Well, hold on.
Mainly.
Right. Exactly. So the same crowd that always said that is saying, no, we have to fix AsicBoost. We have to turn that off. We have to take that away. When no, wait. That's what we agreed to when we said we were going to do SHA-256, right? Yeah, they're just like the DAO hacker. They found an exploit or they found an optimization,
right?
But they found a way around it, and but the same crowd who said, oh no, you should let the hacker have his money is now saying, well, we can't let this optimization stand. But that's where the patent comes into it.
Yeah, but in their defense, no one's asking for a rollback of Bitcoin.
That's true. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's where the patent does come into it.
I have a follow-up question.
Matters.
Follow-up question is, okay, you have half the tree computed ahead of time.
Well, it's 20%, 30%.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
So how can I be sure that the previous transaction isn't going to spend one of my UTXOs in my Merkle tree I've already pre-computed and it ruins everything?
Because you don't pre-compute any transactions in there. you don't do it.
So what am I calculating ahead of time exactly as far as half of that tree?
There's
You're
a couple
calculating
different ways to do it, I
the
guess.
left side of the tree, which just has the Coinbase transaction, which you of course it has no inputs, so you don't have to worry about it. Anybody monkeying with that. So you're good to go. You can do some pre-calculations, which is very valuable in the case of ASIC boost, right?
So let's just ask the question because it's Segwit2x, right?
Yeah.
So this is one thing that people are very, very concerned about with ASIC boost is Segwit2x because it's been on record from Core that they don't want Segwit, the miners, especially Jihan, does not want Segwit introduced because it eliminates their ability to perform ASIC boost.
Is that true?
As
Well,
far
okay,
as
so
know.
Because that was the question I asked Raw Dirty, and that's essentially where I started learning all this stuff because he was trying to walk me through the stuff where I think essentially, and this is my theory, I don't know because we never got to it because he was taking so dang long to walk through the steps with me, doing like his little trolling teacher vibe, but essentially he was making it sound like Segwit enabling it wouldn't stop ASIC boost or enable it or anything. It wouldn't affect it at all.
No, it will.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Can you go over the technical details of that?
Well,
Yeah.
first answer the question
Okay.
is because I want to be very clear for anybody listening because I've heard this argument before is that the Segwit2x version is not going to implement Segwit in such a manner that it is going to get rid of it.
No, it will get rid of ASIC boost.
So Segwit2x gets rid of ASIC.
Yeah.
boost.
Wait, people have been saying that?
Yeah, I've heard it a lot.
Okay.
That's not true.
I haven't.
I-
I haven't heard that, but that's frustrating to hear.
it's all over our Bitcoin.
If you're,
It's all over our Bitcoin. Is don't trust Segwit2x because Segwit2x code doesn't get rid of ASIC boost.
Segwit2x code is Segwit.
I know. Yeah, it's Segwit. It's Segwit.
I mean, if anybody should be pissed about Segwit2x, it should be the hardliner RBTC crowd because because I feel like Segwit2x is giving away to the core folks way too much.
And
That's my opinion. But I don't want to get off topic with.
I mean, the only people upset about it are those people and people who are dead set on 1 megabyte blocks, no hard fork ever.
Yeah.
Which Tone Vase called me an idiot and a moron. Publicly in chats.
You
In
are
chat.
an idiot.
No, I'm just saying, like,
You are not an idiot.
No.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. He left himself wide open.
I leave myself open. It's fairly true in this space.
Tone
But
Vase would never ask the questions that you ask, where you actually want to know, hey, what are the details of this ASIC boost? What are the details of trying to find a knot, rolling a knots over, overflowing a knots, right? You ask those questions. He'll never ask those questions.
regardless, I'm trying to say, like, this is so highly, like what he was
It's
saying
very
with our
charged.
Bitcoin. It's so
Very
charged.
charged.
Mike Casey and I, we hung out with Tone Vase and had like a burger with him and a beer.
Yeah.
This is like, I consider Tone my friend, and to have this guy like completely forget all the stuff that he's done in person with us, and like, yeah, it's like you can tell like people aren't thinking rationally about this.
It hurts.
It's religion.
It hurts.
At this point. It's religion. It's a religious argument.
It doesn't necessarily hurt. Like, I understand. The dude's stressed. His friends are calling him, asking him about Ethereum. Should I buy?
And
And
he says no, and it goes up like.
yeah.
I feel sorry for his friends. They shouldn't be calling him. They should be calling somebody else.
Oh shit!
Well, no,
Shots fired. All right.
Nobody can predict the future. Really, there's just no.
Anyways, but all right, where were we?
Okay, we were talking
back to
about
the technical
so
explanation of.
we transitioned from ASIC boost details right into Segwit2x.
So yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, we might as well talk about the bread and butter. What we're going to talk about, anyways.
all right.
It's all related. Everything circles back to.
I have
to
unique
this.
insight because I work with Jihan, so I can't say what's in the guy's head or in his heart because that's no human can really do that. But I do speak to the guy, on a weekly basis, so I can tell you what I think about it. Although it might hurt my career because he's sort of paying the bills somewhat. I don't think the guy is. I can't speak to the ASIC boost thing because I'm still on the fence with that, especially after he released the whole thing about the user activated hard fork. And and that was kind of confusing to me because he's always said to us.
Before we get to that, though, don't get too far into his tweet yet, because I do want to ask the technical details of why Segwit would stop the ASIC boost potential, if that's appropriate. Is that appropriate, or do you all want to jump into the hard
I'm just
part?
saying that Jihan is misunderstood. The guy is Chinese, and he doesn't. His English is
It's a different culture.
The English is not 100% perfect, and it comes off, and you'll read his writing and everything. I don't want to just denigrate the guy, but he doesn't.
Fork your mother kind of stuff, or
I've always said jokingly that he needs an ABC to do his PR for him, American-born Chinese.
Yeah.
So that he can come across.
Never heard that.
You never heard that? Yeah.
I was thinking ABC was some program that would help you write like Grammarly or something.
Yeah. So I think that he should have a publicist or some kind of thing that basically represent him, because I think he's
I hope that doesn't happen. I love Jihan the way he is.
I do too, but it
makes a very interesting.
He comes off to the people that are jingos, that distrust everything that China does. He basically perpetuates the stereotype of, he's out to get Bitcoin, because he's a red communist Chinese or something like that, which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? The guy invests $100 million into Bitcoin, and he's out to destroy it. That doesn't make any sense. So I think that whatever you think of Jihan, look deeper. Ask the guy questions. He'll respond to you.
Conspiracy theories abound on both sides. I mean, that's just the nature of it. I mean, the longer this shit goes on, the uglier it gets. And quite frankly, even once we resolve this, I don't think it's going to stop.
And whether the guy does ASIC boost or not, that's the deal, right? If the guy is, he's not violating any rules. And, frankly, if he came out and said, yeah, I'm doing ASIC boost, what are you going to do about it? I'd be like, well, bravo to you. You figured out how to outsmart Bitcoin. You know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, well, maybe we should,
I'm with you. I think it's really the question of, do people, I mean, obviously the question is, now is Bitcoin more centralized because of it? That's really the argument, because he has such a large mining pool, he has a lot of hardware, all this stuff. So I don't think people care that he found an efficiency. I think people care that such a big player found an efficiency, right?
So a couple points about ASIC Boost. Jihan's hardware, the overt version of ASIC Boost, he openly supports that in his hardware. It does support it. It has to be active. The hardware supports the ability to do that.
You're talking about the Bitmain S9 Antminer stuff,
Antminer S9, yeah.
S9, they have an S15 or something?
I don't know what they're up to.
Anyway.
I don't follow. But
they jumped from 9 to 15?
There's a 15 terahash version or something.
Sorry.
He owns the Chinese patent on ASIC Boost. Jihan does. And there's different patents with different owners throughout the world, whatever. But the Chinese patent belongs to Jihan, and he does include it in the hardware, but it's included in every version of the hardware that he sells. And this is for the overt version. But if he were using the overt version, it would be ridiculously obvious that he was. And he says he's not. But it is a thing. It's out there. I
have to reiterate that. He's told us at BitPay, we are not using ASIC Boost. That is what he said. Now, like I said, I can't read his mind, so I don't know what the real story is. But
I see circumstantial evidence.
He says, "I don't care." Okay, let me tell you guys exactly what he says to us, and you can take it or leave it or whatever. He says, "All I want is to get all these stupid core devs out of there. I don't care about ASIC Boost. I will merge." Bitcoin that disables ASIC Boost right now. That's what he says. I don't know. You can believe it or not. That's what he says.
I believe that.
All he wants is he desperately loathes core devs.
He obviously sees them as some kind of threat to the future of Bitcoin. That's the only reason he would say something like that.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying that's what he says openly.
Well, it depends on it's a complete disagreement in vision. The two sides.
And then you have people like that got kicked out, like Jeff Garzik, who are like, Jeff
Garzik doesn't think too highly of.
Think about all the old core devs. They got kicked out, kicked to the curb. I'm thinking not maybe all of them, but I'm thinking of Andreessen and
look
Garzik.
at Mike and I have talked about Gavin's plight like 100 times, and how dismayed we are at that whole thing. So
I mean, that just wasn't right. But
he became unpopular because of Craig Wright, I think, or were there other reasons?
yeah, that was ridiculous. We should give him a mulligan on that one.
Yeah, even before that, it was
He wasn't. He was already not the Greg Maxwell already took over by then.
Yeah, he was booted. He wasn't
really booted.
Well, he was effectively, because
he turned over. He
turned it over, but they pushed him out long before, and the only thing he had was his commit access to the repo.
Right.
He was one of the committers, and they took that away after Craig Wright, but he wasn't actively committing.
And
anything.
I don't think he really fought to get it back either. So
well, yeah, no, at that point he was out. He was.
Well, they weren't returning his emails and all.
Yeah,
that
they stopped. I mean, all of that, ironically, not ironically, actually, just matter of factly, it was over block size.
I think
that 100%
I think
over the thing we're still talking about today.
I think I'm biased though with Gavin because I grew up in Bitcoin with Gavin Andreessen, as a little child, like seeing Gavin Andreessen as like, oh, he's the cool developer. Yeah. He's gonna, he's awesome.
You watch it rise and rise.
So I think I'm biased towards liking
it's
him.
A whole new world,
or giving him a mulligan because of Craig Wright.
I mean, you got it. Okay, nobody's perfect. Okay, so I talked to Gavin this week. I talked to him this week. I talked to Charlie Shrem this.
When's he coming to Atlanta?
I don't know. I don't know. But it doesn't
get him for the meetup.
It was weird. This is a weird week for me because I talked to Charlie Shrem, which I never thought I would. I talked to Gavin. I talked to Jeff.
We interviewed Charlie Shrem.
I talked to Mike Belshie. Oh, by the way, Mike Belshie's a quality individual. Like that guy is awesome. He's I think he's the CEO of BitGo.
Maybe we can interview him.
But he's also the guy behind HTTP 2.0.
Oh, really?
Like he used to work. Apparently used to work at Google, and like he's come up with like Spider stuff, and it was just crazy. Like that guy is. If you go on the 2x mailing list, it's crazy what goes on this week. Adam Back was like seriously active, and he was just like denigrating like everybody that's been interacting on that page and 2x and everything, and he's saying, "Oh,
including Luke Jr."
No, he's just like "Oh, there's no nobody has any experience with the protocol, blah blah blah." And I was like, I am not responding to that. And all of a sudden, I think it was Roger Ver. No, it was Mike.
Jeff Garzik has no experience with the protocol.
Yeah, so Adam Back goes on there and like paragraph after paragraph, he's denigrating people, and then I'm trying to remember. That's
interesting because I always thought of Adam Back as like a cool, collective, like middle of the road guy as far as like politics.
He is, but because I've talked to I sat down with him for like 2 hours and talked to him. He's just like a very diminutive person.
I think people are different when you get them behind a keyboard. I think that's just what it is. I mean, that's just part of this whole problem is it's all online. And so everybody just flame war trolls the shit out of each other.
So Charlie Shrem gets on there and says, Adam, he doesn't care. He's just like, I'll tell you whatever. He's like, Adam, Mike Belshie is as heavy hitter as you can get in the world of the internet and, when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And no, it's that's it. And how dare you basically denigrate everybody that's trying their best at this thing. And we've met milestones that nobody thought we could, and maybe you should. He said something like, "Oh, you had the chance to."
Wait, were you saying Speedy was Spider?
Is that how you say it? I don't know much about it. He was just. I'm kind of thinking of.
Okay. No.
Yeah. HTTP 2.0 right there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, I was just like, there's no way that I would. that I would chime in on what Adam Back said because I don't really want to feel his wrath, but apparently Charlie Shrem doesn't really mind that.
I'm reading Mike Belshie's first tweet up here. Only in Ethereum. Your fee is too low, but I took your fee anyways. Try again.
Really? I dare you.
That's happened to, I think, everyone that's messed with Ethereum once. You do a contract and you don't give it enough gas and it'll mess you up. I'm going to follow him. Well, he only has 2,600 followers. All right. Anyway, sorry.
So I just think that this week was just an interesting week, and I saw a lot of people. If it's not constructive to just denigrate people, if you're gonna criticize, let's make it constructive and like point to part in the code that you disagree with.
See, this
And
is
we'll go with that. But
I like
just,
that. I like that.
Well,
Otherwise-
I mean, we always get on people and talk about people, and it's never about people. It's always about the ideas that the people are putting forth. It's not about who said what. It's about get to the meat of the issue. What are you talking about? Why is this good? Why is this bad? It's not bad because this guy said it.
All right, let's get it back. How? All right, first off, a little bit more clearly because I'm still confused about AsciBoost. Let me reiterate my questions before we talk about how Segwit disallows AsciBoost. AsciBoost is when you manipulate parts of the Merkle tree, right? And you pre-compute it ahead of time,
Right.
And you can use the stuff that you pre-computed on the left side.
No, think about a race. Like everybody starts at that the starting line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But say like you could start like 20% around the track.
Yeah, let's talk about how do you do that? First off, let's talk about what comprises a Merkle tree.
Okay.
So what are the inputs? What are the child nodes that go up to the Merkle root?
Right.
What are we actually hashing in? What's in there?
Transactions.
Okay, what part of the transactions? The entire transaction, or what's going on?
The
TXID?
Yeah, the TXIDs.
Okay.
So, and what they do is you have to balance it. So, if you come out as an odd, like if you come out with 3 transactions in the block, you basically have to balance it by duplicating one of the transactions so that you can have, you know what I'm saying?
And therefore, I heard from someone, I think it was you or someone else, it's not a true Merkle tree. It's a Merkle tree that's like almost a Merkle tree because a normal Merkle tree you wouldn't have to do that or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but
I think I heard that somewhere. I'm not sure from who, but the idea that you have to duplicate TXIDs on both sides to balance out the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, Satoshi had this weird predilection for double SHA-256 hashing everything.
Yeah,
right?
for
And
some reason, you just wanted to double.
well, just in case like the first hash wasn't good enough, we'll just double SHA. In fact, that like most libraries have like that function just in there, double SHA-256, right?
Most libraries.
Yeah,
most Bitcoin libraries.
Bitcoin.
I thought you meant like other. Okay.
Yeah, so you're like, okay, why are we double hashing everything? Like, that was
don't
his
have to
style.
run
But
it
anyway,
twice.
that's not apropos to this. But what I'm saying is, the Merkle tree. What you could do is, since you know you're gonna have a Coinbase transaction, right? And you know and right now, not with Segwit, but right now you know exactly what that Coinbase.
Yeah, but that's one transaction.
I know, but that's the only transaction that's required to be in a block.
Yeah, but you just said 20% ahead of everyone. One transaction is going to give you
Well,
a 20%
that's what they say.
jump?
I don't know exactly how they calculate the maximum efficiency.
Sorry, if you want to say something.
Is it 20%? Is that I don't know exactly.
I forget exactly what the percentage was on AsicBoost, but I'm remembering. I think, and I could be totally wrong here because it's been a long time since I read this.
I know we should have been talking about this like last month.
Well, really, I mean,
Or, like,
I wish I knew
right?
we were going to be talking about AsicBoost because I would have.
Well, it's
been a long time.
It's so
since I read this
relevant
stuff.
with, in my opinion, to Segwit and all
Well,
this
I mean,
stuff.
I don't really think so. I mean, I don't think it is relevant, except for there's only one scenario that's relevant, and that's if Segwit2x doesn't pass and UAS-HF dies. That's the only scenario in which this whole conversation is relevant.
Exactly.
Because if either of those two things happen, AsicBoost is dead, completely gone.
I don't think he cares.
Okay, but essentially, AsicBoost is really just I pre-computed a Coinbase.
Right. So, okay,
that sounds really like not that much of an advantage.
So the way that it works, if I remember correctly, is you hash the entire left side of the tree, then you hash the entire right side of the tree, and then you take them and hash them together. So if you never have to rehash the left side of the tree, right. So that's the optimization. If the left side of the tree stays static and you never have to rehash it, so you put it over here in cache and it's going to be the same no matter what happens, then you're dealing with a lot less stuff than everybody else has to do. All you have to do is hash the right side, not worry about hashing the left, and then do your final join operation. That's it. So it gives you a significant advantage of everybody who has to rehash the entire tree every time.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, though, because if there's one transaction on the left side of that tree that was used in the previous block, you have to discard the whole left side.
It wasn't. It was never used in the left side of the block.
So when I make a Merkle tree for Bitcoin, the right side holds the transactions and the left side is just the Coinbase
And other header information and whatnot.
Okay,
So
that makes sense.
yeah.
So in other words, the right side of the Merkle. So when I'm thinking of the Merkle tree being balanced, right, where you have to have like a pretty much a triangle.
Remember, these are hashes. You're not putting data in the.
Oh, I get that.
Okay.
But if it needs to be balanced, as in, let's say, there's normally, let's say, 2,000 transactions per block.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean I have to duplicate those transactions on the left side?
No.
Well, it has to be balanced. How do you work?
Because you have a hash of those. Like a hash is, you have 32 bytes. So
No,
you're trying.
I get that. That's for the Merkle root, though. Yeah. I mean, every single transaction TXID is going to be a entry in that Merkle root.
So
Right.
I
So
guess
we're not talking about like you don't have, what you have is a Merkle root on the right side, right? So
Okay, see, okay. This is me not being smart enough to know that. When I think
it's
of a
better-
Merkle root, I think of a Merkle root on top, and then it has two things that come out of
right.
it.
But
And I was thinking the left side is the Coinbase.
right, but
stuff.
every parent of a Merkle child is also a Merkle root.
Exactly.
But it has a Merkle root of itself. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So what we're saying is we have turtles all the way down. Like
Yep.
just think of a
The topmost turtle is the Merkle root, which
Yeah.
goes into the header.
right. It's better
The
to
one on the-
draw this out on paper. We could show you, but it's not good here.
But all right. But just play this out with me, because I mean it's a pretty simple looking structure. It has two child nodes per parent or per root.
yeah, it's a binary tree.
Yeah. The Merkle root. What's directly off the Merkle root? You have two. You have a left and a right.
Yeah.
What are those? What represents just random
those
roots
are
of?
those are hashes.
Okay, so really we need to go to the bottommost children to see the actual transactions in the Coinbase.
Yeah.
And if we go all the way to the left, you're saying that's the Coinbase.
If you go to the left, there's the Coinbase. Nothing descends down from the Coinbase.
So when we say a tree has to be balanced, what does that mean?
I mean, it has to have an even number of hashes in it.
On left and right side.
Yeah.
It's like that's it.
Okay, left and right side, like completely
Yeah,
left
if
and
you,
right.
If you draw,
You're talking about for the individual, not as a whole.
not as a whole. Not as a
Okay,
whole.
that was very
It has to be
confusing.
balanced. Yeah.
Okay, because when I think balanced, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of like the perfect triangle balance. You're just
No.
talking about for that actual node. You just have to make like a dummy duplicate.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was very
Yeah.
confusing. Okay, sorry. That makes sense though. I hope everyone followed
There's a dummy.
what
You-
we
you
were
use
talking about and understood.
Use the right term. It's a dummy.
It's a dummy. It's
yeah.
It's pretty much. We shouldn't even bring it up. It just makes it more confusing. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
So getting back to how does this optimization? I forget, how does Segwit thwart it? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, because you have a 36 byte. They call it the commitment header or the commitment hash. So you have 4 bytes. So it's 36 bytes. 32 is the hash, and you have a 4 byte header. It's like there's like a constant that they use to identify what version of Segwit you're in. Because right now we're in Segwit version 0. But there's going to be other things that come along later, and they want like a 4 byte placeholder so they can bump that up and say, okay, 0, 1, 2, and it's going to mean different things as we move through the lineage, lineage of Segwit. So, and then you're going to have the hash of the commitment. They call it the commitment hash, and that's in the Coinbase because every Coinbase doesn't really have an input.
it's going to be another Merkle root. Or
It's going to be a Merkle root.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's going to be another Merkle root, and every single. Okay, sorry. Where are the pointers going to?
Because that's the
Exactly
Segwit. Segwit is a soft fork. The way
Right.
that they hacked it in is they took the entire hash of the witness and threw it in the Coinbase.
So we're going to use level DB. Another like what does level DB like have tables, right, or something equivalent?
No, it's a key value
Okay,
store.
so it's going to have another. Help me out. What's the if I have two sets of key value stores in level DB? What is that considered? Or is it just one key value store for the entire deal? Okay.
One key value store for the entire deal.
So
Well, he's talking about the witness data.
Yeah, the
For-
witness
you're
data-
not going to separate it out into two kind of structures in
Not
level
yet.
DB?
Not yet. No.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay.
So this is incremental. That's what a lot of people don't understand. We don't go from having. That's what people think. Oh,
People really don't understand
people
that.
think. Oh, day one we're going to have an increased block size. Nope.
Okay.
I think actually a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think on August 1st, when UAS-HF activates, that's their thinking, that all of a sudden we'll magically have 4 megabyte blocks.
Right.
Well, I mean, when Segwit happens, we're going to have higher fees because there's going to be more demand because people are going to be like, oh, we have Segwit now. And
Maybe.
I think we will.
And you're going to have these things called. So you have new script types. So you're going to have like pay to pub key. You're going to have pay to witness pub key,
yeah.
which is you wrap a traditional transaction in a witness, and so you actually increase the transaction size of that transaction when you do that because you're wrapping more data.
So net,
You have a wrapper and you have the data, so it's a little bit more data.
if you have an unpruned, fully validating node that retains the witness data, there's actually more data.
Does
than there was before.
does the witness data in that key value store somehow point back to the UTXO and the Merkle root of the blockchain?
Does it point back?
All right. So how do I does it use the same TXID? Like how?
No, there's a new TXID called the witness TXID.
Okay,
that's even more data.
No. What I'm saying is, do they use like the same TXID? Like how do you match the witness data back to?
How do you
Because you have a new field in the transaction called the witness TXID.
Yeah, I know. Is that what they're both
No,
going to use for
that's-
their key values store stuff? Or?
Yeah, they're going to be
Is that the ID or the key or whatever that they're going to use? That's common.
Yeah, that's the ID.
It's called witness.
Witness TXID.
Okay, that's
Or
going to be like,
WTXID.
and that's going to be like
and
the
that,
common
that's
key.
stored in the base block. The
It's stored in
reference?
the Coinbase transaction.
Oh yeah, in the Coinbase transaction.
Well,
and that
no.
just points
Whoa.
to a node in the hierarchy in the Merkle tree. For the because I think what he's asking is
The individual transactions.
an individual
Yeah.
transaction.
Not
how do you
yeah.
identify its witness? Is it like a 1-to-1? Are they two similarly structured Merkle trees that they have a place in the Merkle tree? That's how you identify it. Or?
No, they are segregated, just like segregated witness. So what you're doing when you have segregated witness is you're taking out the majority of the transaction, which is the signatures.
Yep.
And you're basically taking those out of the traditional script sig, and you're putting them in a different location. You're segregating them out.
That's the part I didn't understand because
Okay,
when I said,
okay.
are there going to be like two structures in level DB for this?
No.
You're saying no, but
I'm
what is
sorry,
the
no.
blockchain
Eventually, yes. Sorry. Eventually, yes.
then? So you're saying the first iteration of
Yeah.
Segwit, we're not going to get a potential
No.
4x gain.
No.
No.
I haven't heard one person say that. I don't think anyone knows
No.
that.
No.
I mean,
well,
if
they don't.
technically, if everybody doesn't if everybody decides to not propagate witness, and which is the most unlikely thing is you're going to have people using Segwit right away, right? They're not going to do that. They're going to use the traditional paid pub key hash. And if you do, you're going to be on the vanguard. You're going to be very flippant because, like, what if something happens and there's a bug or something? So even if you can use Segwit, you're probably going to opt not to use it for a while.
Yeah, but the whole
No,
thing
people
was...
will use it. I mean, it depends. If there is a client out there, if it defaults to using it, people are going to use it. That's the way it works.
Hold on. Let me ask my question better.
Yeah.
Is the million byte cap gonna read the specific? I don't know.
No, it's not.
Okay,
No.
then it is an increase to
Technically,
when you do a Segwit transaction.
now what they're going to use is
thought-
block weight. And
Yeah.
block weight does figure the signatures, the segregation part. They do figure that into the equation.
Wait a minute. I thought the whole point of Segwit was it didn't figure that in, and that was how you're going to get a block increase.
Well, you are, but you keep the 1 megabyte hard base. They call it the base block size, 1 megabyte, right? And then what you do is you introduce this whole new thing called the block weight. And what that's going to do is it's going to take into account both the signature data that you're squirreling away somewhere, segregated, and the actual rest of the block.
And just to be clear, where you're squirreling away somewhere is not really squirreling away
in the
yet.
Coinbase. That's where you're squirreling away, is in the Coinbase.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Coinbase is only going to hold the root.
No, the way that
Yeah,
they did the
initially
Segwit,
you're going to have to account for all that stuff in the Coinbase.
yeah, the way that they did the Segwit hack is that the Coinbase itself contains the entire witness, all of it.
Wait,
That's what they did.
All the witness data.
That was the only way they could do it as a soft fork. All of the witness data gets shoved into the Coinbase.
Wait, I thought just the Merkle root.
It becomes a Merkle root of the other structure. Is the Coinbase?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
So okay.
I thought
say you strip out the witness data, and you calculate just the witness data first, right?
And
then you run that up the entire tree. Well, that gets Merkle rooted into the Coinbase along with the Coinbase transaction. Because in the old Bitcoin, like he was saying, is if you go down the left side of the tree, then you get to the Coinbase transaction. There's nothing under that. Well, with Segwit, there's a soft fork implementation of Segwit. It keeps going down. There's more turtle shells underneath.
Because when you
have
say
the entire witness tree
hold on. When you
that.
say in the Coinbase, okay,
The Coinbase transaction.
no, you're talking about underneath the Coinbase and the Merkle tree.
It has its own Merkle tree inside of it in Segwit.
But that's not held in the Coinbase transaction.
It is.
No, the Coinbase transaction can't hold all that data.
It does. I mean, it's a Merkle root, so that it's.
Hold on, let's look at because I'm confused.
Let's
look at a Coinbase transaction because
We'll look at go to a Segwit transaction. There's plenty of them in the testnet right now.
Hold on, let me just ask a quick question. Should I share my screen with the?
Oh, there's an ant pool transaction right there.
Hey, see if anybody's been following, real quick too.
No, I'm not streaming.
Oh, we're not. Okay.
No, because Audico was messed up.
All right.
But let me go ahead and so anyone who's watching this on like YouTube can follow us. Hold on. Okay, let's start here, and then we can work our way somewhere else.
Yeah.
But essentially, this is where I'm confused. Okay, this Coinbase transaction is small. Like it can't hold an entire Merkle root.
It can hold as much as you want it to hold.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it can hold up to 1 meg.
Well,
So right here,
you have
you're
the
talking
1
about right
megabyte
here.
transaction size limit, so you can literally make the entire Coinbase 1 megabyte if you want.
Okay, so right here, would it be in the?
Just pad the shit out.
Would it go in the output script or?
I think it goes into.
Yeah,
we can look at.
I
We can
think
actually
that's
look
what-
at
let's,
one of these.
let's go to the test. Okay, how do I get there?
Well, go to test-insight.bitpay.com.
Oh, okay.
No, not dash. Like test-insight.
no,
The character dash.
character, yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah, but then
Oh.
you type dash afterward.
I did?
Yes,
Yeah.
you totally did.
You're trying to type with one hand here.
All right, hold on.
Insight.bitpay.com. All right, let's find a Segwit. Pretty much, so Segwit's activated on this testnet 3 here. So let's find a.
What's a good way to find one? How do I know?
They're everywhere in here.
But you can see in here.
Yeah, let's go. Let's look at the Coinbase and see what's. Now we're gonna have to look at.
So does this look like a Segwit happen here? It doesn't to me.
It's hard to know. Click on that plus mark next to
Key next to detail under details.
Yeah, details. There's a plus mark.
There you go.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything there. Oh, it's not going to show here. I'm sorry. This is not going to be good because it's not Segwit aware. So it's not even going to show it.
All right. Well, let's.
You're going to have to go to another block explorer, like
for testnet.
for testnet. Yeah.
Which
Go to Blocktrail. I think it's Blocktrail. They have a testnet.
Do you know how to get there?
Go to Explorer. I think they have a testnet flag. Yeah.
Testnet
right there.
On the right. There you go.
So let's find a testnet block, or a block that has some testnet transactions in there. What do they mean by TBTC? What does that mean?
Test Bitcoin.
Test. Okay.
Testnet Bitcoin.
Does this look like a normal Coinbase to you?
It has an op return. That's probably just like, something in Chinese or something. I don't know.
That's a single transaction.
That's
though.
not.
You need to look at a block.
You'll know it's you'll know it's a testnet or a Segwit block because it'll look weird.
Okay, so which one? BIP 148, maybe?
Yeah,
Sure,
click
so like that
yeah,
one.
That one looks like a suspect.
Yeah. Let's see.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. How do you know? I'm curious.
Input scripts. Is that the Coinbase transaction? Newly mined. Yeah. That is. It says newly mined coins.
Yeah, that's the Coinbase.
So
Let's see. Where do you see newly mined?
Newly minted coins. One inputs underneath there.
There, I see it.
Okay, so look at the input script there.
Oh wow, testnet's weird right here. Only 1.5.
So look at the input script there. Like, and this isn't Segwit ready either, by the way, because look, it's all jumbled up. It should be displaying.
You mean block trail displaying it or what?
Yeah, they're not really. They don't seem.
Well, shit, they're doing better than Insight, huh?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, look at the ASIC. That's crazy.
So, if you could properly decode that input script, you would see what Mike's talking about. Like, there's no way for Jihan or anybody to know ahead of time what that's going to look like.
So you can't keep your left side.
So this
it's
is
impossible.
So this is how, as long as there's like one Segwit transaction, he's not going to be able to use AsicBoost on that block.
No. Not that I know of. Maybe there's another way to do it, but
Okay.
Well, optimizations are found all the time, but yeah, that one's dead. And it's because of the way that they chose to implement Segwit, which is kind of the only way you can and still do it as a soft fork. But yeah.
All right. So let's see. Well, I'm trying to think of any questions I have about this, but
I mean,
you just want to jump to now. You want to jump to Segwit or UASF and UAS-HF and Segwit2x. Now you just want to jump into
UAHF.
No, UAHF.
I'm the one who.
I can say I'm very confused as to why is Jihan mixing the pot and saying this stuff.
So, I've been thinking about that. I mean, so it goes. He's been threatening a hard fork for a long time now, but what I think the most interesting thing about this is from a game theory perspective, it kind of changes things a little bit. Because before it was status quo was the input if both Segwit2x and UASF fails. So here's what I wonder, because it didn't really address that. I don't think I didn't read it as thoroughly as I like. But so we have a couple different scenarios. One is Segwit2x does activate, and then UASF for whatever reason. I mean, it isn't demolition. So first of all, could that happen? Could you have a UASF take place if Segwit2x is activated? Or do the bits line up to where Segwit2x satisfies the requirements of UASF and it's completely useless after that, null and void?
That's 100% the goal. And I know this is going to sound very controversial and kind of bad, but the goal of Segwit2x is to take 100% of the wind out of BIP 148.
But Segwit gets activated. It gets activated in a way that satisfies the BIP 48 requirements.
That's what we want. We want to prevent a hard fork.
Coin split. Right?
Coin split.
You know what I was thinking? It's going to be August 4th before Segwit2x can be activated, right?
No. In fact, they just shortened it. In fact, they just shortened the window. Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Shortened the window.
Was I right?
July 21st.
It was going to be close. So we're about 10 and a half days from the next retargeting period. And we calculated we still could make it, but we just want to give ourselves more of a bumper. So we shortened the length. So now we're not going to have to wait one full retargeting period, which is 2016 blocks.
How many blocks?
I think 627, I think.
Okay. So originally it was 2016.
Right.
Okay, so if it was 2016, would it have been August 4th?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It depends on
when
when
be
we
like
can,
2 weeks out of July 21st, right?
Well, today is our milestone that we are now testing, and next week we're pretty much going to have as many miners as we can signaling bit 4 and bit 1, so that we can go 627 blocks.
I like how you're saying bit 4.
Bit
not
4.
BIP.
Are you still sharing the screen?
No.
On the computer?
No.
Okay.
Did you want me to?
No, I didn't know if you went back to the camera. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
So, so we'll be way ahead of schedule and have everything signaling. And then there's no reason for anybody to want to go to bit 148 and this whole UAS-HF thing. There's no reason.
Have you been listening to Jimmy's song?
Yeah, I saw a couple things. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, go for it. Yeah.
So there's no way. So the only way that UAS-HF would activate is if Segwit2x fails, right? If it doesn't get the 80+% hash rate to activate Segwit2x.
Right.
So if that happens, then Jihan's version, I'm assuming because it didn't explicitly say it was going to activate Segwit, it's just going to be a straight up 8 megabyte hard fork, right? No Segwit involved. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to be very, very interesting if that happens.
Because here's what Jihan, I think, is thinking. He is thinking that BIP 148 and UAS-HF is a threat, because he thinks that most miners, even though they don't really support the whole hardline approach,
Will fall in line, or
that they will just signal anyway for BIP, for Segwit to get their blocks accepted. They don't have to run the code. They don't have to mine Segwit blocks.
That's
they don't
true.
have to accept any Segwit transactions. They don't have to do any of that. All they have to do is just flip a bit, bit 1, and these a-holes over here will accept their blocks. And so they'll do it just to save money. And what will happen is you'll have an avalanche of apparent support for one thing, and then all of a sudden, we're back. So that's their gameplay. And so what Jihan is wanting to do is go, okay, well, I'm not going to allow this. I'm not going to allow an avalanche of phony support or whatever it is. I think that the miners don't support this, but they also don't want to lose money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of UAS-HF, is to cause that to happen. So he's going to give them an out, and that out is, here's another chain I've created. Go ahead, mine on that.
Right.
And it uses the same current rules. Oh, by the way, just simple hard fork. Probably he's just going to up the what all changes is he specified in there? I forget. Is he doing anything other than just upping max block size?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything that he's put out.
Yeah, that's right. All the code's private at this point, so we don't know what he's running, what he's planning on running.
What do you think about them calling it China coin?
They're just uninformed.
You can call it whatever the fuck you want.
No, I'm just asking. I know we're talking about completely not technical, just people type stuff, but I was just curious.
We've talked about this whole decentralization of mining ad nauseum and everything, and if it were any other way, then something would be up, right? Like just let me take you back a few years. I don't mean to take us off course, but let me take you back to the whole Butterfly Labs thing, right?
Oh,
when that thing was going down, we were all here. We were all I mean, I didn't know you at the time, but we were all talking in the community, but this doesn't make any sense. They're selling these miners. Why don't they just mine with these miners? Why are they selling these miners? And the prices were weird, and they were taking Bitcoin and cash and all this other stuff. And this doesn't make any sense, right? So fast forward to where we are now, this makes 100% sense. Everything is made in China. All the chips are made in China. And Jihan makes chips in China. And so what do you think is supposed to be happening? Exactly what is happening is supposed to happen, because otherwise it would just seem like a big giant scam, right? Why would Jihan produce brand new chips and sell them off when he can mine with them himself? And that's exactly what he's doing. So what's the problem, So I don't get this whole thing. I don't get why people are like, this is China coin. Of course it's China coin. They make everything over there. If we made shit, it would be all USA coin, right? If you made highly profitable computer chips.
So not only are all of our clothes and everything else made in China, but now our Bitcoins are all made in China.
Exactly.
I guess you can think
it's
about.
True.
I mean,
the vast majority of our Bitcoins are made in China.
So by God, they're making everything. It's kind of funny.
Sweatshop
It's
minds.
funny to me.
And if you don't like it, then Bitcoin is not the place for you to be in, because we set the road and the rules for this thing to happen. So why are we surprised that this is happening? It's just
following the rules, and I mean, it's market forces. It's going to go where you have the cheapest chip manufacturer, the cheapest chip die, and the best people, or the best people that you can buy from wherever to do the actual designs for the chips, for the ASICs.
Are you surprised how this turned out?
No, consolidation in China, absolutely not. Well, that's the other thing too, is if somebody does have an ASIC design, they're only going to be able to produce it in China. You can't really get die anywhere else. And due to the nature of IP in China, if you take it to China, they're going to rip it off and make their own.
Right.
That's how that works. So, I mean, that's the nature of the world.
Yeah, you can fight against it, but you're just fighting.
So, I mean, that's a fundamental consequence that we have outsourced all chip die manufacture pretty much to China. I mean, Bitfury makes their own stuff. Do they make it in China? I don't even know.
I'm sure they don't manufacture it in some.
Yeah, not anywhere Jihan's connected.
You couldn't make any money doing that, right?
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing, is if you try to manufacture in the Western world, we don't have facilities to do it at scale. So I don't know. So I think it's a natural consequence that if you're going to go proof of work, it's going to end up consolidating itself in China. Well, the other one is the electricity. So they have subsidized electricity there because of the gigantic dam they built. They built a huge dam. Did you read about that?
Is it like the Hoover Dam, but bigger?
Yeah, way bigger. No, it powers a large portion of the country. In fact,
I'm like so disconnected with like what's going on over there, like
so
as far as that kind of stuff.
They have a West, they're kind of like what we were, 100 years ago.
Yeah, they're basically us
west,
in the 20th
right?
century.
They're focused, most of their population's on the eastern side of China, and they're moving westward, and they acquired
their manifest destiny.
Kind of, because if you look at the map, they in southwestern China. Used to be known as Tibet, right? Yeah, kind of took over that shit. And you think, oh, Tibet's a small place. No, Tibet is huge. It's like the entire southwestern United States. Like, it's massive. And a lot of it is like unpopulated. It's, desert, arid kind of situation. And, if you look at the United States, a lot of the western part of the United States is all hydroelectric, right? You have the Hoover Dam. You have, a lot of dams in California, that kind of thing. And they have the same situation going on over there. So they built these big hydroelectric dams, and they can't. They don't have any people to use them. They don't have any consumers of that electricity yet. So
yeah.
Chris, I'm glad we have you for insight into the Bitcoin space as well as the Bitcoin space in China and what's going on over there.
I don't know. I looked it up because I was wondering. I was like, where are all these dams? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this.
Damn.
I was like, it turns out that all the Tibet stuff that they took over in the 40s, 30s or 40s, it must have been 40s because they were kind of under Japan stuff at that point. But they when they took over Tibet, I was like, damn, Tibet is huge.
I had no idea it was that big.
What?
Hold on. We should get back to UAHF. Because I mean, I don't think we spent like an hour on ASIC boost. So I mean, but big in the news today. I mean, this week at least. There's an element that says, "Oh, this is galvanized UAS-HF," and it's actually coming together now because everybody's like, "Fuck Jihan." That's what the core side's saying now.
Yeah, fuck that guy that invested hundreds of millions of dollars in your network.
I mean, all right, well, so he's only going to do it. He's only going to actually do the hard fork in the because that's so weird, actually. So the way his pledge reads, the way his promise reads, is if we have a scenario where Segwit2x fails, right, and now it's been shortened, so. Does it have a continual activation period after, or does it just die?
It's 144 blocks times 90.
Okay.
So whatever block.
So 90 days.
Ish. Yeah, 90 days.
So okay. So 90 days. Okay. So that's enough time because a weird thing could happen here where it doesn't go and then they fork and then it activates on the fork, right?
It can't. No, I mean if
it
it doesn't activate, so say
if
like
it doesn't activate, they have UAS-HF. He runs his own fork. His fork doesn't have Segwit2x in it, so
Right.
it won't activate.
right.
Okay, so it won't activate on his chain.
I mean, they're still going. I mean, what mining algorithm would they use?
What?
I mean, they're going to still use SHA.
256.
I mean, they're still going to have the same potential issues with him mining empty blocks and attacking
Well,
it.
that has nothing to do with it. I'm talking
just
about
saying, like, I'm just thinking, like,
the activation of Segwit. Forget about AsicBoost for a minute. Like, is that what you were talking about?
No,
What were you talking about?
Jihan attacking their fork, essentially.
Well, yeah. Well, so.
I mean, I guess that's like super ASIC boost because he doesn't give a fuck. He just mines empty blocks. That's like,
no,
I mean, that pretty much that's like better than ASIC boost, right?
So
Or
if
that's
they-
like the same thing.
if they have
Yeah.
a minority hash
But I
rate,
mean-
if they have a minority hash rate and it's something relatively small, because remember they got what 24% to play with. What do they have at Bitmain or Antpool?
That's what I've heard. 20.
So say it's like 24%. So say for the sake of argument that UASF is running 10%. Well, Jihan can take off 10%, peel it off, right, and slightly outrun the 10% that's doing that, and he can build a longer chain
Secretly.
and then just reorg them.
Yes.
And then they lost all that hash rate for nothing. And then, by the way, so you thought you had these 10 blocks, now you have 0 blocks, and there are 10 blocks in there, but they're all empty.
Dude, this is. I mean,
So-
this could be a war. This is
Yeah.
going to be like a
It's
51%
basically gonna be
attack war.
it's a 51%.
This is going to be really interesting.
And
I
I
think
said
the question marks will be where do the other parties, what do they do under these circumstances?
like the other miners
Like FT Pool, BTCC,
pools. Yeah.
all these other pools that are not necessarily tight with Bitmain.
I mean, I could see Bitfury swinging entirely to UASF. I mean, that's
They're solid in Segwit2x. Now, if Segwit2x
well. I mean,
fails,
say it fails. Yeah.
if Segwit2x fails, then yeah, I don't know what they would do.
Well, see, so you have 30% in favor of Segwit.
Luke Dash Jr. has a chart of like which pools are in favor. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Well,
pull
there-
it up. But I mean, there's
no-
only like 3 pools on there.
No
There's-
pools are in favor.
Yeah, there's
There's whatever slush pool can.
slush. Yeah, slush is on there, but
But
it's
slush
like
is only on there
yeah.
because they let their
They
they let
split.
their
They
miners
split.
decide what they want to do.
there's no mining pools on there really. No big ones.
No F2 pool, which is usually the waffler. They went Segwit2x today.
Yeah.
So
Well, all that's on there's no large exchanges on there either. You notice?
no.
Yeah, there are exchanges, a whole bunch of them, but like I think the biggest one on there is CoinKite.
don't
BitSquare, they do nothing.
Yeah.
Coinbase is a no. BitPay is a no.
Yeah.
Look at all that red.
Yeah. There's no.
No, LOL. Okay, so those are the core devs. Obviously, they don't like it. So Zappo, I don't know. Zappo. They're what are they?
This is completely phony.
This is what Luke Jr. is publishing.
I don't know
Yeah,
if
but
this is. I don't know if this is current. This is
These-
just on Tone Vase's.
These are lies. These are all lies. I talked to these people. Okay,
So
let's
there's
see.
only one miner.
Like I said,
slush pool.
I don't know how current
See,
this is.
Okay, Bitfury is showing acceptable BIP 148, but they're also signaling acceptable
Well,
Segwit2x.
that's
Yeah.
completely wrong. That's 100% wrong. Bitfury is not BIP 148.
Well, see, look, he's got an acceptable there at BIP 148, but it's also acceptable until July for Segwit2x, which is funny. The acceptable until July. Why did they even put that like that?
I think anybody who is there and actually runs a business is probably going to be like, their attitude is, I don't want to lose money.
it
don't
is
care.
a workable solution provided activated before August 1st. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's what that means. And so all of the ones, the only one. Okay, so it's just an exchange. Who is Bitonic?
I
didn't
don't
know that one.
Yeah, I really wish I knew what the most current thing of this was, I don't know if it's being updated or whatever, but it's just on Tone Vase's. Well, I guess it was 11 hours ago. So
yeah, it's
so I guess
recent because this just came out like yesterday. This the company one, but again, look, there's only 2 miners on the list, and I think they're only putting miners on the list that have. They're only putting anybody. If you look at the entire list, they're only putting anybody on the list that. Oh, they all prefer Segwit, of course, but I think everybody does at this point. Except
no, they all prefer to make money and stop the hemorrhage.
What does deficient mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, deficient means they find it lacking, so they're not in
Greg
favor
Maxwell. I'm surprised he's lacking.
Oh yeah, no, Greg's publicly come out against 148.
I'm just saying, like he's him.
Which is ironic because mostly
to
like
his
Tone
credit,
Tone Vase are attached. Basically, they're
Greg's
well, it almost seems like Luke Dash Jr. is the new guy to jump on.
Yeah, he's the new.
And look, Jorge Timon. So
he's the new people that he's the guy that everybody follows now. Right?
People of the he's the person of the people.
Wow, look at all these names that say no now. So
he's a man of the people.
Matt Carollo's a no. I don't know. Matt Carollo's a no. Nicholas Dorier's deficient. That's same thing.
What's BIP 141 versus one?
That's Segwit. BIP 141 is just Segwit.
Segwit is 3 bips.
Oh, that's
BIP 141, 143, and 147.
Okay,
141 has to activate first, right?
So what do you think's going to happen, guys?
Lots of shit's going to go down.
I think that you're gonna. God willing, we're gonna get Segwit 2x. We're gonna avert any chain split.
So if Segwit 2x doesn't activate, we're going to end up with 2 Bitcoins.
All right. What do you think? There's a success story with UAS-HF?
No. I think, the only success story is that Jihan does... Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this to you guys, but Jihan also says that he's not going to attack that chain. He's like, let those idiots go off and do their stupid little chain over there.
Oh, okay. So now he's not going to attack it. Before, I think
that's what he said. That's what he said in the Slack channel. He's like, I'm not going to attack these. Let them go off, and good riddance. Basically, is the theme of what he said. Is we don't need these people. Like, let them go off and have their own stupid whatever it is. It's not Bitcoin.
For Bitcoin itself. So I mean, and we this is the show's block time. We spend an inordinate amount of time talking about Bitcoin. We haven't even touched any of the other cryptocurrencies in like weeks.
It's because Bitcoin's so crazy. It's going to be the most crazy thing.
We do realize that like Ethereum just like tripled.
We didn't even talk about one ICO.
No, not even.
We didn't talk about one ICO.
No, we next time we should probably do some stuff. But yeah,
we can get past the stupid Segwit stuff.
This is going to keep going on until August.
But I'll tell you why.
We're almost there.
But I'll tell you why. I don't find the ICOs interesting anymore. It's almost like it's just so absurd. It's laughable. And it's not even like laughable. It's absurdly hilarious.
Well, Ethereum itself is pretty interesting.
Well, you can start laughing when everybody's lost all their money, and you can be like, "You're an idiot."
No, I just think it's all these.
Some people will make a fortune. Some people will make
by cheating people out of their money.
That's the way of it.
Yeah, we should at some point shift gears and just say, okay, we're just gonna not talk about.
But not today. Let's finish this conversation.
I mean, if we're doing this weekly,
if we're doing it weekly, we do need to switch it up. But I mean, every time something ridiculous happens at Bitcoin, and it's just like, oh my god, did you? Yeah, but I don't know.
It's got the best drama.
My prediction is we'll end up with 2 coins if the last thing to keep Bitcoin united is Segwit 2x. If that falls, if that fails, we don't end up with 80% majority, then it's going to be a coin split.
To me, it's like what will keep the BTC ticker, and will exchanges. Here's the other thing: will exchanges agree on what the ticker should be? Some say, well, no, this is the original ticker.
So,
this is because think about Ethereum versus ETC. Everyone was in unison that this is ETC and this is ETH. Will we have anything where exchanges would?
I would think the probably both Bitcoin BTC may die, and then they'll have 2 separate ones that neither of which you don't think.
No, I think you'll have BTC, and you'll have Bitcoin Classic, and you'll have Bitcoin.
Oh, good God. BCC.
So we'll have 3?
No, you'll have Bitcoin Classic. Forget about what we there's a Bitcoin Classic, but I think UASF will become Bitcoin Classic.
So
that's what they'll call themselves. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin Classic and
they'll fight tooth and nail for Bitcoin. They're never going to get rid of Bitcoin. It would have to be
but if they do, then Jihan will be like, oh fuck no, I'm going to attack you guys to the ends of the earth.
I mean, he's
going to keep the name.
So much stuff comes down to definitions and name. And
it's the name. If you think about it, it's the name we're fighting over because all of this shit could be easily. Either side could easily be done as an altcoin, right? Either side, you could easily fork the UXTO, be like, fuck you guys, I'm taking my hash rate and I'm going. This could have happened like a long time ago. What we're fighting over at this point is the name. That's what we're fighting over. The brand, the Bitcoin brand, and it is the largest cryptocurrency in existence for now.
It has a very valuable brand.
We should talk about the flippening if it happens. We should. Likelihood that it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
I think it's like 90% likely.
I think it's going to happen.
I think it's probably going to happen too, but there may be a reflipping.
I think
once this block size shit gets settled, you never know what game on.
I think there is a 99% chance. Okay, 90% chance of a reflipping, and it doesn't. I mean, I think if Ethereum takes over, and
if we get a
Ripple might have some stupid valuation of like $2, and it goes to the top.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's not real. So if there is truly a coin split in Bitcoin, it could make it, ETH could pull out drastically ahead because if both sides of the split first split in half and then drop because they've lost so much value, then you could see a huge rise in ETH potentially.
Well, I mean, it took ETH how long to rebounce from ETC?
The Dow, kerfuffle. Yeah, it took them a year.
And then now what? ETH is split, and it's still now about to overtake Bitcoin in market cap. So Bitcoin could easily find.
We say it a lot, but these are still very early days. Yeah. Very, very early days.
Oh man, we haven't even hit $1 trillion market cap yet. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
on a coin yet.
This is insane.
Yeah,
I don't know. I am tired of talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because I think
let's talk about the flipping or something.
Hold on. I'm going to say my final word on this whole thing is, I literally have been talking about stupid block size for 2 solid years.
Everybody's sick
and
of
I cannot fucking wait to not talk about it ever again. What about you?
Until the next
don't hold your breath. So to be honest, I thought in 2014 we would have the scaling would be solved. I thought in 2015, this is the year scaling. We're gonna do something with adaptive block size or something. And then
I really think
2016 I became skeptical.
I really, really, really think it's finally coming to a head. It has to resolve itself one way or the other. Right now, just the mere fact that the flippening is so close means both sides are highly incentivized to do something. Maybe not even make a compromise, but fucking do something.
So hereby I will call Bitcoin the Hillary coin because we should have been anointed as the coin. We should have been elected, but we weren't. And we're going to have the flippening, and we're going to have Ethereum come up on top, and it's going to be the Donald Trump coin. It's going to be the Donald Trump coin because it's just all show. All hat, no cattle.
And it's got ties to a powerful Russian.
Exactly. That's funny. Oh my god, dude, you're drawing all these parallels. But I will say that with Ethereum, I've said very negative things about it, and but I also did say it had legs. But I still don't think it has anything behind it. Not yet.
Still early days.
Maybe it'll attract with this market share and this market cap. Maybe it'll attract some serious computer science behind it.
I am interested to see if dynamic smart contracts, kind of deal will be a thing versus running that kind of logic off chain. That's going to be interesting. But I also am skeptical that those first use cases aren't going to be for like darknet type stuff.
Well,
I don't know.
When Ethereum outshines Bitcoin as a store of value, what value proposition does Bitcoin have left? As far, you know what I mean? If Ethereum goes up faster, it stays there.
Well, think about. Well, hold on. We'll literally become the gold bugs of crypto.
Well, yeah.
Because think about gold. Never loses value. It doesn't really go up like 30x and 100x like these gold bugs think it will.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
We'll become the gold bugs of crypto, which is like holding Bitcoin.
Yeah, and we'll be like just the old grumpy old.
We'll
man.
have sound money. Your technology, and kids will be looking at us and being like, dude, your gold has only gone up like 100% in the last like 7 years, and you'll be like,
we're gonna be Peter Schiff, but
yeah, we'll be the Peter Schiffs of Bitcoin.
We're gonna be like, that has no intrinsic value. Ethereum has no intrinsic value.
Well,
get off my lawn.
We used to mine back in my day.
We used to mine with real hardware.
Proof of stake crap. Oh God. Well, I don't know. Whatever happens, it's one thing's for sure. It's going to be interesting.
I'm not even interested anymore.
I don't know. I just
you're about burnt out, huh?
I'm tired of this shit, man. Fucking, it's embarrassing, man. Like people ask you, they're like, "Oh, what's this block size thing?" I'm like, this thing is just people getting butt hurt and people having egos. That's all the shit is.
Well, see, here's the thing, and I keep coming back to it. As far as the price is concerned, people don't obviously have not a fucking clue what's going on. Because if they did, like, this shit would be way worse than it is right now. Like, if they knew how bad it's gotten with this
Some people do. I mean, even my brother-in-law who is buying Bitcoin, he's like, I heard about some shit, like, can't agree on this thing, and, well, it's like...
Well, see, that's the thing, is when we see that on mainstream media, when, because I've seen, like, one article in Forbes. You know what I mean? But, like, once we see the block size debate hitting mainstream media, that's when we know, oh, yeah, the party's over for now.
Yeah, we already know, like, once miners are no longer interested in keeping up the arms race, it's over, man. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I denigrate people who discount miners and say it's all about users. It's like, dude, it's not all about miners are users.
Miners secure the network.
Miners secure the network. You need to. Me as a developer, I feel like they're my customer.
Yeah, that's
the same as anybody, other wallet user or holder or whatever. They're my customer. I need to serve them just like I serve you guys.
Yep.
So that's it for me. I know you got.
Well, I think it's about time to wrap it up. It's been a great show.
Yeah. Also, some things to think about, guys. This meetup that's coming up in July 29th. So first off, just a cap on news of Tab. We had a conflicting blockchain meetup on the 28th, and instead of conflicting with them, I just pretty much cross-advertised and pushed my meetup back one day. And they also said that I could sponsor my meetup, go there and say, hey guys, I run this meetup if you're interested in blockchains and stuff.
What's the topic?
Jack Shaw and Chrissa, or oh man, I forgot her name. The CEO of Patientory that just got $7.2 million in her Ethereum private ICO. And Jack Shaw talking about healthcare and blockchain. So
and that's the one the day before ours, or
28th. 29th is going to be ours, and we can talk about whatever we want. And I'm thinking we talk to our community about UAS-HF, ICOs, whatever. We can talk about whatever, and I think it'd be interesting if we did lightning talks about certain things. I don't know if that's what y'all want to do. I would also like for Chris to do a presentation on Segwit2x if you want. I know you seem burnt out. I don't know. Are you?
Well, by then we'll know if it's going to happen, right?
Well,
I'm just I'm dismayed because I'm working hard, 10-hour, 12-hour days.
You don't have enough time to make a presentation
on just this one thing. Then and it doesn't happen. I'm going to be like, I'm going to flip this table over. You know what I mean? This is bullshit.
All right. Well, anyways, keep a open mind about if y'all want to help run the presentations and stuff, and find people at BitPay maybe, or find some people like Jihan, whatever. He who should not be named. I mean.
Why?
All right.
Anyways,
let's wrap it up,
Mike. I think the knots have been found,
and our ASICs have been boosted.
Ooh, I like that. Thanks for propagating with us.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.